And so, again, another message of delayed doesn't mean denied.
A lot of times we talk about self-love as you either have it or you don't.
That's how God works.
I have goosebumps.
I do too. Every time I tell the story, I get goosebumps.
A lot of times, like when I start to slide into depression, is because I'm not living my truth. Oh, how are you?
Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome to the Ask Dr. Argie podcast.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. Here is the place where courageous conversations connect.
I'm here for it.
It's going to be fire.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. All right. So listen, I'm like, today already, it was a day.
Oh my goodness.
It was a day.
Tell me about it.
So first of all, I was late. You know I was late, right?
I didn't know what time you were supposed to be here.
No, I was late, and then Morgan's calling me, and he's like, "Where are you?" And he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'm okay." Knowing I'm kind of anxious, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, "I'm okay." Then we get caught in traffic. I never come to the avenue at this particular time, so I didn't know it was going to be traffic, like dead stop traffic. And I'm like, sweating. I'm like, "Oh, she's there," and I was like, "Okay. Get it together, get it together." So then I come in and then I knock over the vase. I'm like, I'm just a mess today.
It was eventful, yeah. But when you came in, we realized we have a lot in common, right? We had matching backpacks.
So listen, girl. We got matching backpacks. Yes. We got natural hair.
Short natural hair.
Right? We're into self-love. What else? Oh, we like pretty bottles.
Yes.
That we can put little flowers in. So, I just felt the love. Like, I felt the energy. I felt the synergy.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, this is gonna...
You literally said this is gonna be easy.
This is going... I did. Yes. I did. But actually, to be honest with you, I knew it was gonna be easy even before I met you.
Okay.
I did. I knew that there was the synergy, there was the sisterhood. I mean, you know when, Dr. Sarah, you like walk in a room, you've ever had this experience where you walk in a room and you know somebody's been fighting or fussing or there's been an argument, like, and it's that
you can
tension.
Feel it. It's palpable.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you also, have you walked in a room and you felt like, like it feels good. Yes. That's how I felt.
Yeah, I love that.
Not just when I met you today.
Okay.
But that's how I felt when I was watching you. I was like, oh, that's my sister. Yeah. She don't even know it.
I knew too.
So, so that part, right? Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, tell me a little bit about your SEPTA situation.
So when I got the address to come meet you here today, my go-to, because I live in New York City currently, my go-to is Google Maps. Typed in your address.
Okay.
It said take Amtrak. Well, it said take the subway to Amtrak.
Okay.
Amtrak to SEPTA. I didn't even know it was going to be SEPTA. It just said CHW. So I get to the station in Philadelphia and I go up and I say, I'm looking for CHW. It says head toward Westchester or something like that. And they're like, oh, that's SEPTA. You're going to go down that way and down that way. So I'm running because it says train arriving now. I go up. The other people on the platform, I get on the train at SEPTA apparently. It was empty, there was a nice black lady walking down the aisle checking
nice black lady.
She was asking for my
nice
ticket.
Black lady.
She was asking me for my ticket. I was like, I already scanned to come in. And she's like, oh yeah, you're going to scan to go back out too. And a very uneventful SEPTA train ride to here.
Well, I guess that's a good... Why, wait a minute. Why do you say uneventful like that?
Well, because when I got here, some people were upset with me that I had taken SEPTA. They were like, what? You took SEPTA? No, we're never going to do that again. I was like, I didn't know, my bad. But relative to the subway, I think SEPTA was pretty...
in New York, right, you take the subway all the time,
all the time.
Right?
All the time.
And so that's a whole
the bus, or I walk.
Different experience, I take it. I can't really tell you the last time I was on public transportation.
Really?
I feel like it was like years. Like maybe before the pandemic.
Yes.
I really literally don't remember.
Yeah.
But I do remember being on the subway in New York, and that was not uneventful.
Oh, oh no.
That was not uneventful. I mean, first of all, there were people everywhere. I'm a little claustrophobic. I saw some animals. By the way, do they still have a rat czar in New York?
I don't know about the rat czar, but we need something. I don't know if it's ever gonna go away, to be honest, the rat problem in New York. I don't know
Really?
if there is a fix for it because I feel like the city is infrastructure is just so old. Like, what would it take to completely gut the whole system to get rid of the rats?
It's probably not going to
Yeah,
happen.
it's probably not
But
feasible.
so we were talking about that earlier, and I was saying, like, did you have to desensitize yourself?
Mhm.
Because I know for me, at various times when, it gets to be the fall and you've got the little critters trying to get in, like, I am terrified, literally terrified. And there was one time where I was like, I took the broom. I don't know what was in the ceiling. It might have been raccoons, but I'm taking the broom and I'm like banging the ceiling. And Morgan's like, if you keep doing that, that raccoon, whatever it is, it's going to come down on your head.
Yes.
Like, so I'm like terrified. So I was like, okay, Argie, get yourself together. And I started watching videos because I was like, I need to get my whole self together or I'm going to like crash out, as young people say. But like for you, did you have to desensitize yourself when you got to New York and you knew you were going to see a lot of different things?
I don't know. I don't know if I had to desensitize myself because there's so much that goes on in New York that the rats are like a blip on the radar. To be honest, because like there are so many people to like draw your attention and just like trying to get from point A to point B. It's like you don't really have as much time to register the rats. But also it's different because you're talking about like hearing things in the house. And for me, rats only happen like in the subway or on the street. When I'm at home, it's pest free. Like there are no animals, and I live on the 8th floor, so I'm not really worried about things coming in and out. But yeah, when you're walking, if you look up instead of looking down, you're less likely to see a rat.
But if you look up, then you might like run into somebody. Like,
well, I don't mean like
that's a strategy,
but just like straight ahead.
Just look straight ahead.
Yeah.
So that's interesting because you're not from New York, right?
No,
you're not
I'm from
New York.
Louisiana
You're
originally.
from Louisiana,
yes,
and then you found yourself in
I
Illinois.
lived in California for a while.
Oh, California. So you're on the West Coast too?
I've hopped around.
Yeah. So we were talking about this a little bit before too, like this whole idea of like, I'm fascinated by people who can go out in the world and explore and discover. And for me, I've been a little bit of a study train. Like I lived in Philadelphia my entire life. I went to Howard University, the Howard University, like the best HBCU on the planet. I like them all, but that was the school that I chose. And I was intentional about getting there. And I'll talk a little bit about that journey, but that was not a straight journey because a lot of people don't know that I didn't get into Howard.
Oh, okay.
And that was the school that I got into every other school, but I did not get into Howard, right? And that's where I wanted to go.
Okay.
And
so how'd you get there?
Okay, so I had a bright idea. And the bright idea was I cried for 2 weeks. Literally, my sister went to Villanova. She was the first Black Miss Villanova.
Really?
Literally. And that was my older sister. She sort of taught me everything I knew, good and bad, right? And I saw she was not having a great experience. And I was like, I am not going to a PWI. I'm just not going to do it. And then I found Howard, and I was like, that's where I'm going to go. Literally, all my friends got into Howard, and I did not. And so after crying for like 2 weeks, my father, who really didn't want me to go away to school, my sister stayed home and commuted. He wanted me to do the same. And he said, you know what? He told my mom, make her stop crying. Send her wherever she got in and wherever she wants to go, send her. I then had a brilliant idea. And that was, I'm not going to go to school. If I didn't get into Howard, I won't go to school. My bright idea, we had a family restaurant. I'm going to work at Burger King and thrift drugs, and I'll make money doing that.
Yes.
And my mother was like, oh, that's your plan? She was like, okay. And she let it play out. And it seemed like a bright idea, Dr. Sarah, until August.
That's
when everybody else went off to school and I was left home. And so I was like, I don't think this is going to work too well.
Right.
So I ended up applying to community college, setting my intention on Howard. I got into Howard, and it was the best experience that I've ever had in my life because I learned a valuable lesson. One, I learned delayed doesn't mean denied.
There you go.
Right?
Yes.
2, I learned if you set your intentions on something and you put the effort and the work into it, you can get there. By the time I got to Howard, all my friends were flunking out. I was on scholarship, and I was like, I was not going to be denied by that time.
Yeah.
So that was like my journey, but really, literally, I've only lived in one other place, which is DC when I was in school, and then I moved back to Philly. So we have very different journeys in terms of where we've lived.
Yeah. That story too reminds me of how, like, sometimes if you were to get the thing you wanted right now, you wouldn't be ready for it and you would mess it up, right? And so it's like you said, delayed doesn't mean denied, but also sometimes the extra time that you take to achieve the dream is what makes you ready to like thrive in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I knew that I wasn't necessarily ready. I had a lot more to work with or work on in my high school years. And another thing a lot of people don't know, because I didn't know, is that I was depressed while I was in high school.
Yeah.
I always say that for young people, pay attention to their patterns, pay attention to the things that are changing. For me, I kind of isolated myself. I stopped hanging out with my friends. I started hooking school. My grades dropped. I started eating for comfort. My mother didn't know what to do, so she took me to the doctors, and they put me on a diet, when in actuality, I should have been in therapy.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And so those things exponentially sort of shifted my readiness, if you will. And I needed a little bit longer time to like kind of really process who I am and where I was and where I was going. But by the time I got to Howard, I found my tribe. Like I found my people. And I always say, like, give it time. You can find, in particular, I think at HBCU, your people, whoever they are. But even out there in the world, you can find the people. Because I feel like today I found my person. I found one of my people because we have this synergy, if you will. So for you, when you've been moving around, like, and at these different places living, like, did you find that there were some places where your people were not going to be found?
Right.
And other places where you found your tribe?
Yeah. So I love the contrast in that because I was born in Austin, Texas. Moved to Kenner, Louisiana, which is right outside of New Orleans. Spent most of my life in Baton Rouge. Went to undergrad in Mississippi. Did my master's in California. Went back to Louisiana for my doctorate. Then worked in Illinois. Then had a stint in Texas. And then I was a digital nomad for a while. So I was traveling like around the world / country. But for me, like I ended up at some point, I realized like all of my best friends live somewhere else, live hundreds of miles away, right? And so for me, like, and I think too, like I am a Gemini, so that sort of fickle nature of like wanting to experience change a lot and, wanting the variety and the diversity of experiences is sort of natural. But it is that sense of community, that sense of tribe was never based on place for me. And so I love that about the time that I live in. And I think about had I been born in a different generation, different time, like I might not have had the freedom and the flexibility and the agency to like move and make these connections around the globe. But for example, like I wouldn't have met you necessarily or be here in person today if my life hadn't had that little winding, twisting journey. And it's similar in that, you have to like trust like where you're guided to, right? So you knew it was Howard. And for me, it was sort of like, I know it's not here. Like wherever I was, like I didn't necessarily have a destination in mind, but I was like, okay, I know I can't stay here. So I need to start looking for what's next, right? Whether it's a place or a job or like a group of people. For me, that's kind of how I've been led through all of those places.
So that's fascinating to me on so many different levels because I feel that, the universe guides us, but sometimes we don't listen to the universe, right?
Yes.
And then we find ourselves having to learn that same lesson over and over and over again. You and I have something else in common. We've both accomplished our PhDs, right? This is the highest scholastic degree that anyone can get. And I'm curious about your path. I have to mention my mentor, my friend, Dr. Marlene Watson. Her nickname, for me, I gave her a nickname, and it's HT 2.0, which stands for Harriet Tubman 2. And the reason that's her nickname is because she was working she had a seat at the table at a PWI, predominantly white institution, and she was kicking doors down to make sure that Black and brown students would be in those universities. But I felt connected, which allowed me to stay in that system for a very long time. But the truth is, once she stepped down and my chair was someone that didn't look like me, I was no longer really feeling connected, if you will. Right. So, and then the PhD journey in and of itself is kind of like academic hazing. That's what I call it.
Did you go all the way through from undergrad to PhD?
So I did not. Okay. I went to undergrad. I stayed in, I worked in the field of mental health for like 7 or 8 years. Okay. I then, I just told the story not too long ago. I knew, I think at 29, usually before you're going into another decade, you start reevaluating. Did I do everything I needed to do? Am I where I want to be? You know,
usually the answer is
what
no
else?
For me. I'm like, nope, didn't right? do it all.
And so then I realized I had a conversation with my dad. My dad just turned 90 on last Monday.
Whoa!
He's my dad. So awesome. He is doing amazing things. Yes. He's really, really funny. He says stuff like, you know, you never get out of this life alive. I'm like, really, Dad? Like, we know this, right?
I love that, though. I'm going to steal that.
But he said, you know, he had a hard conversation with me, a courageous conversation, probably around 29. And he said, listen, you said you're going to go back to school and you haven't done it yet. And I started crying because I always wanted to please my dad. And my mom kind of took up for me. Okay. And she was like, she's a good girl. Like, leave her alone. The other ones, they give us trouble, but she's a good girl. Leave her alone. And my dad said, no. I didn't say I wanted to go back to school. She did. And he said, now, if that's not what you want to do, then I'll leave you alone. Yeah. But if that's what you want to do, then in essence, shit or get off the pot. And I was so mad. But I also realized that sometimes do we have the same story? I don't know.
But I'm like, who you mad at?
I was mad at me. I wasn't mad at him. I was mad at me. But I also ran into this woman at a church retreat, a women's retreat, Dr. Warrenetta Crawford, and she was speaking all over the world. She was fierce. She was fabulous. She just seemed like that was who I wanted to be. And at lunch, I asked her, I said, you know, I want to go back to school. I don't know if I can do it. I don't have the money. She's like, whoa, stop. She said, are you a believer? I said, yes. And she said, well, why have you given me every excuse about why you can't? But you haven't told me that you can. And so she said, we're going to pray. We're going to go a circle. And then when I come back here next year, you will be in school. That was on a Saturday. Yeah. I went over to my parents' house on a Sunday. This was a couple of days after I had that courageous conversation with my dad. And there was a notification for an open house at Drexel University on that Monday. I left work early to go to the open house, and that's where I met Dr. Marlene Watson, who was a Black woman running this program. That's how God works.
I have goosebumps.
Do too. Every time I tell the story, I get goosebumps. And so I said, how did you guys send, like, how did you get my information to send me this notification for this open house? Right. The administrative assistant was there, and she said, oh, you applied to our program 5 years ago.
It's all right here. I'm getting like...
But we never saw you. So we just went into our old list and started sending notifications to people that were interested that never showed up. And so, again, another message of delayed doesn't mean denied. Yeah. And that was the beginning of my journey in this university that held me and was a container for the growth and the development for me to move into the place that I'm in now.
Yeah. And it's divine timing, like, clearly. And there's this analogy of like the seeds you plant them, and you never know when they're going to sprout or when they're going to bloom or blossom, right? And so that was a seed you planted, forgot about, and then you look back and it's like bearing fruit. All of a sudden it's in full bloom. Here you go, right? In the perfect timing, in the divine timing. For me, I did my bachelor's at Mississippi State. Originally started in architecture. I'm still obsessed with architecture and design. I might go back into interior design or something at some point. But I changed my major halfway through to English. And speaking of depression, I realized I was depressed when I think it started when I was in high school, but definitely
Mm.
as an undergrad in architecture, sitting there, like just pressing skip on my CD player, because it was that long ago. I had a CD player.
CD player, wow. Wow.
And everyone else is working diligently on their models, and I was just like not there. I was like not having it. And then I switched my major to English, and it was like I couldn't even like I would wake up early because I was so excited, and I would
Wow.
like get dressed to go to class, like put on skirts and dresses. 'Cause I was so excited, and
Mm.
people would say after I changed my major, they would say you're glowing. Like I can tell
Mm.
you're happy, and so like for me, that started my own self-awareness of how my emotions are telling me when I'm on the wrong path versus the right path. And
Mhm.
so for me, depression, for me, I'll speak personally. You have more clinical expertise, but a lot of times, like when I start to slide into depression, is because I'm not living my truth, right? Or I'm not
Mm.
following
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
passions and following the things that light me up inside. And so I knew I said I want to go to California and be close to the movie industry. I thought I was going to be writing movies and stuff like that. So I went straight into my master's degree. It also bought me some time because I didn't know exactly what my career would be, but so I could do school again. So
Mhm.
I went to
Mhm.
my master's, and I was like, I can't afford to stay in California like right after my master's. So I went back to Louisiana to teach high school English. That's where that stint was.
God bless you
And
on that one, because
no, but
high school
I
students.
yes, but I loved high school. I knew I wanted to teach high school over any other age because they're old enough to get your sarcasm. They are old enough for you to like crack jokes on. I'll
Mhm.
tell you one of my favorite jokes. I thought I was so cool. This was back when the song "Teach Me How to Dougie" was popular.
Oh,
So
don't tell me you were doing the
no,
dance.
well, I would dance in class.
Okay.
Like I have a reputation for just dancing whenever I feel like it.
Okay.
But one of my students asked me, Miss Webb, because I hadn't gotten my doctorate yet. They're like, Miss Webb, do you know how to Dougie? And I said, no. Why don't you teach me? And the whole class erupted. They were like, oh, that's so cool. I was like, yeah, see what I did there. But I actually started blogging around that time. This was like
Oh,
2010. So blogging was still like very, very popular, but
yeah.
also still new. And I started blogging about colorism. And after a couple of years of like starting to have more conversations with other people about colorism, that's when I knew I wanted to go back for my doctorate. I was like, oh, because I knew I wanted to go eventually, but I wanted to have a clear purpose, a very
Mm.
clear intention for why I was getting my PhD. And so when I found the issue of colorism, I was like, oh, this is worth my time. This is worth giving like dedicated study to. So it was about a 4-year period between my master's and doctorate. But similar to you, like I did get my PhD at a PWI, but I didn't really have like a core mentor there. So I was just
Mm.
like, keep your head down and get out.
Mm.
And then when I started working at the University of Illinois, it was the same thing. Like there wasn't, and I know that's one of the reasons why I left Illinois,
Mhm.
University of Illinois, is because there weren't any senior Black faculty, male or female, who
Mm.
were
That's
looking
hard.
out for
That's
me
hard.
or like even reaching out to me. Like they existed on campus, but I think there were so few of us that
Mhm.
they were even struggling with isolation, right? So like I don't think they had enough in their own coffers to be able to reach back to a new Black faculty member. And so I just never found my community either on the campus or out in the town. And so that wasn't sustainable for me. So I was like,
Mm.
again, like I don't know where I'm going next, but I know I can no longer stay here. So
Mm.
yeah.
This idea of community,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe that we are designed to be in isolation. And that's why I think many of us didn't do so well in the pandemic, especially older people, right? Now, there's a few folk that, they just did fine because they were kind of internal people,
Yeah.
right? But by and large, we're not designed to like be in these bubbles by ourselves. And so in these institutions, as we as Black women are trying to navigate our way, what would you say was the one biggest lesson you learned? And what were the tools that you used?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. As you were saying, and I realized because I am very, very introverted and very homebody, and I will go days like just being alone and like not talking to anyone. But for me, I think there's a contrast between like that chosen solitude, like that intentional solitude, like, oh,
Mhm.
I want to be by myself and
Mhm.
recharge and
Mhm.
like play my music versus being in a group of people and not feeling seen. not feeling connection with those people.
Mhm.
Like I would rather be alone than be surrounded by people who don't see me or surrounded by people who don't recognize my value or my worth, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's what I experienced like in a lot of my workplaces and at the university setting. Like, you know, we talk about things like microaggressions, right? Like some of the senior white faculty would walk past my door, my open door, just walk past my door, go one door over to the other new faculty member and say, "Hey, how you doing?
Mhm.
You know, I just wanted to
Mhm.
invite you over to my house for lunch," right? It's like, okay,
You're like,
you
I
could,
see you. I
right?
see you.
Yes, and I
And you
know,
know you see me.
and you see me
Yeah.
seeing you,
Yeah.
and that was the
Yeah.
whole point, right?
Mhm.
And so I was like, this is for me. Same with my PhD program. Like when I was a faculty member, I was like, it's for me. There's a level of I come here to work. I don't come here to make friends.
Mhm.
But it's a level of collegiality and camaraderie that was still missing, right? Like
Mhm.
I don't have to go to your house for dinner, right? But if you could at least engage me on a professional level, right?
Yeah.
Then we have
Not
some
see me as
sense
an
of
invisible
exactly,
being.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. So for me, it was always centered on my purpose and my teaching, and I do feel like education and teaching is a part of my mission, my life purpose, regardless of what form or where it actually happens.
Mhm.
And so that's what got me through the 3 years that I was there is I'm not looking for or I'm not expecting these people to suddenly change and become collegial and, you know, show me camaraderie, but the work that I'm doing, like the things I'm studying, the things I'm writing, the things I'm teaching matter and make a difference. And it was the most beautiful experiences were the students who did connect with me. And I knew
Mhm.
that I was the only Black faculty member, again, male or female, in the history and English department. So I was like,
Mm.
when these Black students show up to my class, like the other, and not just Black students, like all students, like so many diverse students saw themselves in me as
Mm.
a faculty
Mhm.
member. It was like, you're different. And you're not afraid to like dress the way you dress as a faculty member and wear your natural hair as a faculty member
Mm.
and talk about your Louisiana roots and Zydeco music as a faculty member. So many students, first generation students, like they really appreciated and valued like my presence on that campus. And so I think that was an important focus for me while I was there because I wasn't connecting with like my colleagues necessarily.
Yeah. So you know what? You know, when you're talking, it reminds me of so many different things when I was in academia. Like, you know, I recall many of the Black students that would come by the office and we
Mhm.
would talk. And I was basically auntie, you know, like,
Mhm.
you know, Dr. Argie, but she's like my auntie. But but then when they would talk amongst their friends, their peers, they would be like, oh, we don't go to, at the time I wasn't married, we don't go to Dr. Allen's office. She's a little scary. And they were
Mm.
like, scary? We up in her office all the
All the
time.
time.
Like,
Right.
what you scared of? You know?
Exactly.
And there would be all these microaggressions.
Mhm.
Like, you know, I would say from professional development, I need to, you know, you need to, if you email me and you ask a question, it's not, hey, who who am I?
Yeah.
And what is your request? And you can put a salutation at the end, not
Yeah.
hey, this or whatever. And then they would respond back, why? You know, just like
What?
rude
Oh my
and
goodness.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
You know, they one time this woman, she was a student and she threw this paper at me. We're at it, we're having a meeting. I'm like, I'm gonna need you to take it back and hand it to me.
Mhm.
You know, there were just so many
Yeah.
of those, what I like to call, they're not even microaggressions, they're macroaggressions.
Mhm.
Because for many of them, they did not think that we belonged there in
Yes.
the first place.
Mhm.
You know, and so for Dr. Marlene Watson, my mentor, many of her colleagues at times would say, like, your department, it's very diverse. There was a person at a high level that said to her, I'm going to need you to fill that position with a white person. And she said, well, when the rest of your all white male departments fill their
That
departments
part.
with the Black person,
Right.
then come back and talk to
Come
me.
on. Right.
Right? Come
Exactly.
back and talk to me.
Yes.
But not many of us sometimes have
Mhm.
the capacity sometimes to carry the weight of
Of
that
that. Yeah.
because there's a heavy weight
Mhm.
and there's a cost to that.
Yes.
And even the injuries, right? Like I
Mhm.
want to like pivot to hair. Like it's like ridiculous sometimes that we would be in spaces where people would ask questions. Has this ever happened that somebody asked you, could they touch your hair?
Yeah. I actually don't recall that specific one, but what I would get from people is like this, oh, your hair is so outrageous.
outrageous.
Or like, I love your hair because it's so like funky or quirky. And I was like, but this is the way it grows out of my head.
Shout out for the crown act, right?
This is the way my hair naturally grows out of my head. Why is it odd or just so different to you? Like, oh, because you haven't been exposed to many Black people who are okay being, their natural selves. But yeah, I do know that it's very common to have that question. And then it's almost like we're in a zoo, right? Like, oh, I have to study you, or like you're so different. And it's like, no, we're just who we are.
So have you always worn your hair naturally? Because I can tell you I have not. I used to straighten. You remember the comb, hot comb on the stove, and straighten the hair. And then when I became a teenager, then I would get perms because I wanted to go swimming and I wanted my hair to be straight because of all of the images that tell you that somehow the way in which your hair grows out of your head is not okay, and it's not the vision of beauty or the standard of beauty. And so what was your journey like in terms of that? Were you always kind of central and centric and aligned with who you are as a Black woman, or did it take you a while to get there?
I think I got lucky relatively early. Like when I hear other Black women's journeys, because I started going natural when I was like 14 or 15. So then that's relatively early. But when I was a child, a girl, I used to dream of the long straight hair. And back in the day, I would put like from Louisiana, I put Mardi Gras beads on the back of my hair.
Oh, really?
So
wow.
I
and
could,
just swing it like that.
I would like put a towel or a shirt on my head, right? But then I was so fortunate to grow up, be an adolescent during the neo soul era. So you have people like Angie Stone and Erykah Badu and Johnny and India
Rest in
Ari.
peace, Angie
You know what I
Stone.
mean? I know. And so I started to see that. And then my mom went natural. My mom used to tell me stories of like she was one of the first people to get an afro. She graduated from high school in 73, right? And so she talked about just the pride that they had in her generation, like wearing their afros and stuff. And so that was sort of instilled in me early on. And then she returned to her natural hair when I was about maybe in middle school. And so I was seeing that. And then my sister went natural. She's 3 years older than me. I was like, I want locks. I want to go natural too, So we started that transition when I was 14 or 15, and I've been natural ever since. Wow. And so it has been, at this point, the vast majority of my life, even though I've had like different styles and that sort of thing. But I do think like when people see me, they say like, it looks like you've been natural for a long time. Like the way you like present. You seem so comfortable with it. And I think too, one thing I've seen even as a natural haired person is that there are even standards for how the natural hair looks, right? It's like, I want to go natural if my hair could look like that person's natural hair, right? And so there's still these standards even amongst women with natural hair. Like I only want to go natural if my curls are like 3C curls or like loose curls or or if it still like sways back and forth. And I was like, it's an ongoing journey of acceptance and evolution. But I think every one of us who shows up authentically like makes it a little easier like for the next person to do the same.
Yeah. Like one of the poems that I literally would read every single day while I was working on my dissertation. And by the way, I quit like every day. Like in my head, I quit.
Yes. That's how I feel with my book. I'm like, it's done.
But it's happening.
It's
happening.
It's really done now.
But yeah, I quit, and then I would read this poem, and the poem was "Our Deepest Fear." Marianne Williamson, which they feel like that.
Aquila and the Bee is where I heard it the first time.
Really?
Lawrence Fishburne said it to Keke Palmer's character in Aquila and the Bee.
Oh, and that was a good movie. That was a good movie. Nelson Mandela, when he came out of incarceration for crimes that he did not commit, and he spoke to the masses and became the president, he read this poem. And that was really the first time that I actually heard it. And I thought that he had written it, but it was written by Marianne Williamson. And it talks about who are we not to be beautiful and brilliant and bold? Who are we not to be? We are children of God. And us playing small does not serve the masses.
Right.
It gives actually being big and bold permission to do the same. So like it's like how we show up in the world, just what you said, in this authentic and bold and brilliant and like amazing way,
Yeah.
that part, right, gives everyone else permission to do the same.
Right.
Right? The other thing is, you know, when we share our real and raw and authentic stories, right? When we do that, as opposed to acting like we got it all together and we're perfect and we've been on this beautiful journey with no twists and turns, right? Then I'm never drawn to those kind of people,
Right.
right? And that brings me like self-love,
Yes.
right? What does it really look like? That is your journey.
Yeah.
And I told you, when I watched and researched you on your IG and all the self-love, I was like, oh, this gonna be so easy.
Yes.
Because we've got that energy. But was that always that for you in terms of the self-love and being in line in alignment with what God and the universe has called you to do and be and becoming? Or you mentioned depression. How did that impact you either loving yourself or projecting that to other people?
Yeah. So I've been saying this about self-love a lot more recently, like over the past few years, is that a lot of times we talk about self-love as you either have it or you don't. And I think most, like I say, everybody has some self-love, right? And I think everybody
Do
has,
they?
yeah.
Okay.
So I think everybody also has the capacity to deepen their self-love and
Okay.
experience greater levels of it. Because I tell people, I say, like, if you are hungry and you're like, oh, I'm hungry, let me go get something to eat. Like, that's an act of self-love. Like the choice to say, oh, I'm experiencing a need in this moment. Let me go meet that need. That
That's
is
an
a that
interesting
is
way
a
of looking
kernel
at
of self-love,
it.
right? And so the journey has always been an ongoing one, an evolving one. And I can say I love myself now more today than I ever have. But that doesn't mean I didn't love myself at all back in the day. But I think when I was younger, I didn't even like have the language. I didn't have that vocabulary, the framework. Like, what is self-love? What does it mean to love yourself? And I think self-esteem was a thing back then. But now I see love, self-love, romantic love, platonic love, familial love, again, like as an expression of our spiritual essence, right? And because my belief system says that we are love. We are created in love, right? Like love is the source of all that exists today, right? You think God is love, and so what does it mean? Like there's a lot that blocks us from that. There's a lot that shrouds it and obscures the love, but that doesn't mean the love isn't there, right? And so even when I say like I think everybody has self love, we have to ask ourselves, so what's blocking me from that? What's disconnecting me from my natural state, which is love, right? And so like if you realize your natural state is love, then it's a question of what has distracted me from that, what has pulled me away from that, what has been piled on top of that, the shame, the judgment, the criticism, right? And so when we're healing, it's like healing a callus. There's a callus over something that's very tender and pure and precious. And so I think healing the shame, judgment, abuse, the trauma that has covered up that self-love is like the journey that I've been on, right? I did it primarily through colorism healing, but there's so much that encompasses, right? Like family dynamics, issues with parents and the larger community and like feeling seen in society and culture. But yeah, I think the the truth that I feel now is that we are all love, and it's about getting back to that natural state.
So when I think about self-love for me, it's been a journey. And I do agree with you that there is this organic alignment with who we are as beings, as spiritual beings having a human experience, and that we are love. We were born out of love. We are love. We are becoming love. But I do think that there are a lot of barriers, and I experienced a lot of those barriers.
Yeah.
I was a really, really shy kid. I did not speak above a whisper, literally. I never thought I'd be speaking to millions of people. Never.
And look at you.
Right. Never. And yet there was this part of me that was so curious about humans and dynamic and engagement. Go figure that I actually became a therapist. But when we talk about like, or for me, when I talk about this whole idea of self-love, um, I I am drawn to both my mother and my father, but in particular my mother. because my mother struggled with postpartum depression, and she also struggled with psychosis. And the doctor at the time, after she had one child that was miscarried, stillborn. She had another child with my sister Kim, and then she didn't think she could have children again, and she had me. But she had me with a specific goal in mind. The doctor had literally said, go off the birth control pills and cleanse your body by having a child. And in her mind, she felt that I would help her to cleanse her body from the mental health issues that she had. Now, my mother continued to have some mental health issues, and she found pathways for her wellness journey. But I also know that I carried a lot of that weight before I even came into the world to help my mother with her mental health issues. And so with regards to self-love, right, for me, why I say it's a journey is because I'm not so sure, had I not had that connection with my mother, how I would have shown up in the world.
Yeah.
But I showed up in the world through this idea that not only was I to love, but I was to be loved, right?
Yeah.
Yet the barriers that you talk about, these barriers of insecurity, these barriers of not being enough, these barriers of being rejected, these barriers around, are we good enough as women, as Black women? All of those things I experienced in my own life.
Yeah.
And I felt that for me, it was very much connected to my humanity. And that if I could continue to do good in the world, that good things would come back to me. And they certainly have. I have an amazing husband who loves me dearly. I have a wonderful family and wonderful friends that on a regular basis show me how much I am loved. Usually, even at the end of a podcast, I used to say, you know, if nobody told you that you are that somebody loved you, let me be the first to tell you. But that's because I embody it. And even on my hair journey, which we were talking about our natural hair, that just was not, I was watching the standard of beauty that the world says that we should be aligned with.
Yeah.
And it was taking me down the wrong track. And I had to get back to me. Who is Argie? Who does God say I am? Who am I becoming? What is that transformational journey that allows me to be the best version of myself that I can be in my natural state? So that was the journey. And even with the hair, there's times when people were like, can I take a picture of your hair? And then they go to my stylist, shout out to Sarita at Duafe in North Philadelphia. She will be like, you got Argie, you're my biggest billboard, because they'll show a picture of my hair and say, I want it just like that.
Yeah.
And even when they say it to me, I say, you know what? I so appreciate that. I so appreciate that you love the way in which I style my hair. But let me hip you to something. It needs to be authentically who you are.
Yeah.
And the way in which your hair grows out of your hair. So yeah, maybe we emulate a little bit, but don't let that be the final determining factor of what you believe is amazing, which you believe is fire, how you want to show up in the world. Don't pattern after me, pattern after who you say you want to be, right?
I can be your inspiration, but I'm not your destination.
Yes,
right? Like,
yes.
You're not trying to get to where I am, but I can inspire you along your own journey.
Oh my gosh. Yes. So let me ask you this question. I love that. Like, say that again. I can
be your inspiration, but I'm not your destination.
Yes, that's a bar. That's a bar. I don't watch movies a lot.
Okay.
Not a lot.
I try to.
But I do have some oldies but goodies, right?
Such as?
School Days. And a really, really oldie but goodie is Imitation of Life. And I started thinking about that when I knew that we would be having this conversation. Because I can't get out of my head the scene in Imitation of Life. There's two scenes, and both of them are at the end of the movies. One scene is the woman who was passing, literally running after the hearse because she wants to get forgiveness from her mother from rejecting her. And then the other scene in School Days is Lawrence Fishburne in the middle of the yard saying, wake up, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I mentioned Lawrence Fishburne with the Keelan and the Bee.
So for me, I want to hear like how maybe those two movies resonate with you in terms of the commitment in your work around colorism, around like this idea of us loving ourselves, and how we don't love ourselves. Like, and maybe if you have other movies that that resonate with you, let us know.
Yeah, well, nothing's coming immediately to mind, but when I think about Imitation of Life, it's funny because I didn't start thinking about or like writing about colorism until like 2011, but I had seen Imitation of Life as a child. Both versions. I've seen both versions of it.
I think it's
right?
like 3 versions.
Probably 3, right? Yeah. But I remember it's such a like powerful movie. Like it sticks with you, right? Like the story of it. But you talked about the barriers to self-love, and obviously racism has been a barrier for us as a people, right? Like there have been entire governments, entire like cultures trying to tell us that there's nothing to love about us as Black people. There's like there's nothing to love about Blackness.
Systematically.
And so we've had more to overcome, more to unlearn than some other groups of people. And I think that story is such a testament to like what is at stake, like the stakes of us believing the lies, the stakes of us like falling into the trap of thinking that there is nothing to love here, whether it's ourselves or each other. Right. And so like how at the end she was so mournful, like the grief was so overwhelming because she had denied herself connection with her mother. Right. And so and when your mother passes away, you realize like I let this racist system deprive me of mothering my mother, and
receiving
so I think
that love.
Yeah, exactly. And so
and loving her.
To your point earlier about like having that self-compassion when you're having to unlearn things, because it's not your fault that you have to unlearn this. Like you didn't ask to be conditioned in this American society. And so like when you're in your process of self-love, for anybody watching, like if you feel like you're not at a level of self-love you're comfortable with, like be patient with yourself and give yourself that grace because we've inherited so much stuff that wasn't even ours.
Yeah. And like with school days, remember like the Divine Nine? I'm a part of the Divine Nine, and how like there's the brown paper bag test and all that. So when you think about that, what is it that resonates most with you around this idea of wake up? And can we tie that into, you got some really special thing coming up with your book. So we want to hear about it because it's happening, right?
Yeah, and so like now we use the term colorism, which is the title of my book that's coming out. But when School Days came out, it was like the light skin versus dark skin thing, right? Like those are being color struck. Those are some other terms that people have used for it. And I don't think I've seen like the entire School Days movie, but I've seen that.
Really?
I've seen the Divine Nine scene multiple times, right? Like, I think that's one of the most famous ones. And I think it's so important to have the conversation on colorism because it helps us repair our own sense of self. But with a scene like that also shows us how when we face this conversation, when we face this issue in our community, it brings us back to each other as well, right? And I say colorism has frayed the fabrics of our friendships, of our families, and our communities. And people say, oh, we're talking about it, so you're creating division. I'm like, no, the division was already there. The division has always been there. And so us needing to talk about it and look at it is the only way we can heal from it. But yes, I do have a book coming out in July of 2026. So I hope everyone can get a copy.
So it's called Colorism?
Yes.
July it's coming out?
Yes.
Where can we find?
Wherever books are sold.
Okay.
I've always wanted to say that.
Okay. And so we're going to be looking for the tour.
Yes,
right? That you're going to be kind of on the circuit.
Yes.
And so it's for me, not only do I see and feel and embody your love and your energy.
Made me emotional.
I know, seriously. I feel it with every fiber of my being. And I believe that you are a true gift out there in the humanity. And so this is good. This is good. I'm looking forward to colorism. And I think it's very connected with Courageous Conversations Connect.
Absolutely.
Because to your point, when we have these conversations, they're not supposed to divide us.
No.
We are this universe that is connected through spiritual beings having a human experience. And we have to have the conversations that connect us versus divide us about all kinds of stuff. Awesome. And when we don't have the conversations, that's when we get divided.
Investors.
Right. Or when we're receiving messages that are false or fake, you know, or disingenuine or meant to strip us of our humanity. Yeah. That's what actually divides us.
Yes, exactly.
So I got some rapid questions for you.
Okay.
All right. You ready?
We'll see. We'll see if I'm ready.
All right. Let's see. You know, if you want to ask me some, it's all right too.
Yeah.
But here we go. Let me know. She's Gotta Have It or School Days?
School Days.
School Days. All right.
For
we
sure.
just talked about School Days. All right. All right. Ideal first date.
Ideal first date. Probably a morning date because I like the sunrise. So like meeting for a morning walk to watch the sunrise and then grabbing breakfast at a cafe.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. All right. What's your go-to comfort food?
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
Oh, love me some cheesecake. You like cheesecake?
Listen, I didn't like cheesecake until I had this cheesecake at this restaurant up the street from us, Adelina's.
It's got to be the right cheesecake.
The mother, Giuliano and Antonio, their mother makes these 3 pies a week. Only 3 pies. And if you don't get there by Saturday, they're gone. Wow. Right? So yeah, next time you come.
Next time.
All right.
It's going to be on my bucket list.
Married with children or married with no kids?
Married with no kids.
Okay, we're going to have to unpack that. Maybe not in this conversation, but we're going to have to unpack that. The next conversation.
Okay.
It's going to be another conversation. Run for president or run for mayor?
Run for president. Because I want to have the largest impact I could possibly have.
Amen to that.
If I'm going to be in office, like let me just do the whole thing, the whole shebang.
Amen. Let's call that into existence. Yes. That's it. That sounds good to me. All right, luxury fashion or thrifting?
Thrifting, luxury fashion.
That's cheap.
That's cheating?
I think that's cheap. But that's
I'm a cheater.
Okay,
yeah.
that's all right. Thrifting, luxury fashion.
Loopholes.
All right. Work it out, sister. Work it out, sister. I love it. Speaking in front of people or writing books from one author and speaker to the next?
Speaking in front of people because you get immediate feedback from your audience. And you like get to feel that, like you said, like you and I feeling the immediate connection when we're in person. There's something about that. Yeah. As much as I love to write, I love like sensing people's energy. So speaking. Okay. What about you?
What about me?
Yeah.
Definitely. Ooh. See, I want to get the loophole hard. Like you did the loophole, right? Writing and then speaking about what I'm writing in front of other people.
Okay. You got me. The one up.
Okay. One dating deal breaker.
Being rude to anybody, whether it's a waiter or like the cab driver.
That's a good sign, right?
Yeah.
That's a good sign. I like that. Although I can think about a whole bunch of other dating deal breakers.
Of course. But I was like, it's a rapid fire though.
Yeah, this one. Okay. Best mantra or word you live by?
Courage. Yeah. That's why I think this podcast was the perfect fit. Courage. Yes.
Thank you. All right. And this one that everybody's going to get is one thing that you would tell your younger self if you had the opportunity.
Yes. I would tell my younger self that you are already good enough and you do not have to hustle to prove you're worthy.
Love that. This has been so amazing.
I know.
This has been so amazing. So thank you, Dr. Sarah. Thank you for being on the show, the Ask Dr. Argie podcast, where courageous conversations connect. And to our viewers, we're going to see you next time. It's going to be fire.
Yay! We did it! You know we got to rock side to side. You got to do the rock. We got to do the black girl rock.
Black girl rock. That's it.